Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Welcome back. Today's episode is the unwritten rules of life. This is a unique topic, but one that has had me contemplating recently in regards to social settings for why people are choosing to act otherwise than what you would consider the norm. From texting etiquette to airplane seat rules, gym behavior, wedding guest politics, tipping culture, people I would think have similar opinions, but I see otherwise in my day-to-day life, and it shocks me every single time. Honestly, I don't know if it has to do with maturity, getting older, getting less patient. I feel like a grandma sometimes where I'm just like, oh, you just rotten kids. I don't know. But no, truly though, in specific situations, either I'm rolling my eyes or I'm just baffled by the behaviors of others. Also, whether it is when I have been dating in the past or if I'm single or in a relationship, you obviously view things differently. So depending on where you are in life, that probably has a big thing to do with it. I also live in Utah, so Utah is its own insane bubble full of rules and lack of. But overall, I would say I've traveled a bunch too, and I've seen these things happen outside of Utah too, so I would imagine it's a worldly thing. So one that literally happened to me yesterday was I had someone, a friend, I may or may not be related to, FaceTime me, and I was busy at the time, but I saw the notification while it was going off. And so naturally, I assumed that this person would text me after and say like, hey, sorry, like, I don't know if you're busy, but this is what I wanted, but they never did. So it was really weird to me. And I feel like for me, that specifically is one that I don't care if you want to randomly call me out of the blue or FaceTime me. I am also that chaotic person sometimes, especially if I get really excited about whatever I want to talk about, or I need to contact them because it's in the moment, I'm with somebody else and I'm referencing them and I want their knowledge or wisdom. I don't know. I am that chaotic person sometimes, and I will jump over that little extra step of being cordial and talking to them or texting them and letting them know what's up. However, I feel like this should definitely be a rule for any situation. Like, I don't know, that if you're gonna choose whether to call or FaceTime, then send a follow-up text if the person doesn't answer and say, hey, this is why I was contacting you. Like, it's anyway. The person though did not, and so I'm just like, okay. And I might be not viewing this correctly, but this person is very much a millennial, and I feel like that specific age group, see, I'm like a zillennial, right? I was born in 99. So I basically live on the edge because all my siblings were all millennials, but technically I'm Gen Z, but I am very much in the brain of a millennial, I feel like. But anyway, I feel like it's millennial age to not do that, I've noticed, but I could be wrong. I feel like the majority of the population, though, does, in fact, usually send a follow-up. So when I come across a person that doesn't, it's confusing to me. This next one, I feel differently about, I would say, than maybe most people. And I think maybe it's just from where I grew up, but the concept of whoever invites is the one who pays, or at least offers. So I would clearly just reference this as a date, because I feel like if it was anything but, whether it's a group of friends or just friends or whatever, that's just weird, I feel like. I don't know. Because I feel like with a group of friends or just a friend or whatever, when you're talking about going to do something, you're asking for their opinion and saying like, hey, do you want to do this? Because if they truly didn't, then you'd think that they would say no. But of course, there's the exception of people pleasers, right? And they'll say yes, even though they don't want to. But regardless, I think that would be weird. And unless you specifically want to throw out the feelers of a unspoken relationship. I don't know. I feel like that only belongs in date area. Or if you're just genuinely trying to impress someone or you owe them a favor or something. I don't know. Or it's their birthday. I just don't think that in any other regards, the concept of whoever invites is the one who pays, or at least offers. That's just weird. Okay, this next one this one's so obvious, but if you're on an airplane, middle seat of the flight gets both armrests. I have been on flights that the person that was on the window seat and I was in the middle seat was using the armrest, and I'm in my brain I was like, whoa, no, that is against the rules, my friend. Middle seat gets both armrests because they're just jam-packed like a little sardine between the two people, one on the aisle, one in the window. And so it's like that's their claim to being minorly comfortable. And I remember being so pissed off in the moment. And I remember, I'm pretty sure I fought a very quiet war, but I put my arm not like touching them, but also on the armrest. I don't know. I was very petty, but like I was mad and I was like, no, my friend, that is not the rules of the air. Disagree with anyone that thinks otherwise, because that's just, I would say, a common courtesy, common knowledge. So the next one is if someone sends you a long voice memo, you get to reply with a text. So here's the thing. I don't hate voice memos. I actually like them, depending on the person. That sounds very strict rules, but no, it's true. Like, I do not mind a good voice memo, for one, especially because as a mom, I'm usually pretty busy and I enjoy listening to whether it's a podcast or whatever. So, like, I don't mind that whatsoever. I think it's nice because then you can see the context of the situation or whatever that they're telling you about and the emotion in their voice, and it comes off just better than a text, and I don't have to read a text. So I don't mind them. When it comes to replying, I don't mind to reply with a voice memo either, because I feel like it's just quicker. It's almost like Snapchatting, back when that was cool. Maybe it's still cool, but I haven't used it in years. But yeah, so I have nothing against voice memos. I'll happily use them. Of the people in my life that like religiously use them, it makes me laugh. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're a good little middle ground, because there's certain people in my life, if I were to call them, then I would never get off the phone with them because it would be like 2 hours later. But so I think like for those type of people, voice memos are great because they can yap, but it's not a two-way street. And so both parties can move on with their life and they give a little bit of time between replying. But of course, there's obviously people that I can call and we'll talk for 2 minutes, get the message crossed, and hang up. So I think it's fine. I think it's kind of a funny thing to say. It's an unwritten thing that you should be able to do that. I don't think anyone's arguing. So yeah, kind of a useless one, but whatever. Okay. So there's the comment, "You look tired." When people say that, I think it's so useless or like rude. Just, I will always be confused by people that walk up to someone and be like, "Oh, wow, yeah, you look tired." I'm like, that's so offensive. So what? Like, I look tired all the time, but I'm a tired mom, so that makes sense. But I don't know. I feel like that should just never be said. And that's where I leave it. So we continue on to public space rules. So I would say the majority of people understand this concept, but there's very specific places in the world that I venture that I have seen otherwise. For example, the rule of don't stand right behind someone in line at the grocery store for checkout, or if you're like at an ATM or whatever, like you give them space, right? I don't know why that doesn't apply specifically for TJ Maxx. Whenever I'm at TJ Maxx, I swear, usually they're moms that are they stand on my heels, and I'm like, can you give me some space? And like, I loved that for the pandemic and the 10 feet apart, whatever thing. Was it 10 feet? I always get it confused with the 6 feet apart because that's a movie. But yeah, 10 feet. That was glorious. I love not having anyone sneezing or coughing on me or their children grabbing my hair or whatever. I loved that. I think the best hack that you can get around doing, like having that space is like if you have a shopping cart and putting that right behind you instead of in front of you, then they have to be forced to stand at least a cart's worth away from you. So that's a good life hack for you if you didn't know that and that bothers you as well. But overall, I am baffled. I would say the only workaround is like if you're at a amusement park and you're in line for rides, I feel like there's no getting away from people standing like really close next to you. However, so grocery stores, I feel like during the pandemic, my favorite thing ever was that my local Walmarts, they drew with tape on the ground the direction flow of traffic to go up and down the aisles. Did people listen to them? No, but they should. I think it's common knowledge, like for America, you drive on the right side of the road. Same thing for walking and pushing your stroller. You think people would do it, but they don't. But if they did, it would make life so much less chaotic and would make things run so much smoother. I really wish that was the case. Okay, so on another topic, movie theaters. I have not been to an actual movie theater for probably close to 2 years now. So because I had a baby, I have had not a good reason to attempt to go to a movie theater because one, I'd need a babysitter or I'd take my child and screw up his hearing. Although we did buy him some over-the-ear headphone things that you see babies wear for fireworks and stuff, which he's never used. We actually bought them for if we had the opportunity to go to a hockey game with him, which we still have not to this day. But if we do, we're ready to go. So, one day, maybe. But anyway, as for movie theaters, yes, have not gone. But when we did go, / when I was pregnant, / my entire life before, prior to being with children, I obviously, like most people, was very well acquainted with movie theater rules. 1, turn off your phone. Don't be on your phone. 2, don't talk during the movie. 3, don't be obnoxious. 4, try not to get up. 5, just be a good citizen when at the movie theaters. So specifically, there's certain movies that these rules just kind of fly out the door, and it's very frustrating. I'd say there's 3 different tiers of movies I can think of right now. I would say one being Marvel movies and any other huge fandom movies like that, because you have the people that just scream because they're so freaking invested. And I'm not saying you can't be passionate, but I'm saying if you're going to go to a movie, be respectful of those around you. But yes, you have those people, like if their favorite character dies or there's a crazy plot twist or whatever, and they're like it's okay to gasp and ooh or whatever when the entire theater's doing it and it's natural maybe, but like during the tiniest parts, like a slight joke and they're cackling, it's just like, oh my gosh, I am now watching / listening to your presence watching this movie I would like to watch. Anyway, that's a pet peeve. Whatever. I don't think I'm that crazy for that. There is the second tier of, like, I'd say anime / whatever, which I'm not bashing on anime. I enjoy anime. But that just goes to show I've been to a couple of those movies. Oh my gosh. I swear they're always filled with either, like, teens or tweens or whatever. And I understand they're so passionate about the movie, whatever franchise, I don't know, but they just talk throughout the entire thing, or they're whispering and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh my gosh, please shut up. This is not your house, this is not your rules, please sit down and shut up. The third tier of movie, which I'm trying to remember now because I already forgot, would be the anticipation. Musical movies like Wicked. So we went and saw Wicked pretty late after it had initially come out. I had wanted to see it for quite some time, but once again, that was, gosh, if we went to Wicked, who was watching our child? I don't remember. Somebody was babysitting our child, I'm sure. But I don't remember who was watching our child. Anyway, we went, and there was a couple next to us on a date, or maybe they were married. I feel like they were on a date. But they were horrendous to sit next to. The entire time, the girl was going in the, like, literally right next to me. And oh my gosh, I was giving my husband just the, not evil eye for him, but for the situation next to me. And I swear there were so many times that I was just sitting and thinking to myself, I need to say something. I should say something. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. And what killed me the most is that this was my one night out or whatever opportunity to watch this movie for the first time in all its glory. And this person next to me decided that they wanted to talk through it all. And I just think there's nothing ruder. It pisses me off so much. I don't understand it. The brain cells of these people, they just must have a empty noggin in their head or something, because the math is not mathing. I don't get good why they do it, but I digress. I continue on. So the next one makes me laugh without fail every single time, and I live the other side of it, I'd say most days, at least 5 days out of the week. So you are coming to a crosswalk as either the driver or the walker. If you are the walker, you got to do the awkward jog to hurry up to get out of their way, or you are the driver and you have to motion your hand the crap out of them to say, hey, I see you, go, go, go. So I have a very strict opinion about this. If the driver has reached the crosswalk a solid 3, 4, 5 pirate paces to where you are not yet to that crosswalk, I will wave the driver and say, go. You could drive back and forth probably 5 times by the time that I reach that crosswalk. And I think it's so counterproductive for that car to sit there, wait for another 5 seconds for me to reach the crosswalk, to then have to either A, do the awkward jog through the crosswalk, or take my sweet time and know that they're probably judging me and saying, wow, this girl doesn't have a care in the world. It's all about her, blah, 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 blah. You know, so for that very reason, daily, because I walk daily with 2 dogs in a stroller. And so I come across this all the time. And my favorite type of person is the careless teenager that refuses to make eye contact with me. And so they'll pull up a little early to this crosswalk, and then they wait for me, but they won't look at me. They'll immediately look down at their phone. And I'm just like, this is even more awkward, because 9 out of 10 times I'll try to wave them through and say, hey, go, get going to where you need to go. Please let me just walk slowly in peace. I don't know. Anyway, so obnoxious overall. And I think the world just needs to gauge these situations better, because it makes me feel awkward. It makes them probably hate life because they get to wait for me or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, this happens a lot. It's not like a huge deal, and I'm probably overreacting, but it's obnoxious to me. So there you go. And actually, on that same topic, I just barely watched a really sad video on TikTok of a 79, I think it's a guy-year-old guy, get hit by a cop car. The biker guy was illegally crossing at the wrong time. So also maybe abide traffic laws, but it was sad, because he's old, but at the same time, I guess it was his time to go, because he apparently didn't read the rules of the road there. But yeah, lol. All right, so the next one is rules when it comes to friends and family. For example, you should never bring a friend or a +1 to a hangout situation unless it's cleared first. a good example of this is if you have someone that may have had relations with someone in that group. For example, I was once at a game night in college with a bunch of people that I knew, and one of them ended up bringing somebody that I had a slight relation with to a party setting or whatever. And he walked in, and I'm like, okay. So anyway, it ended up being kind of funny though, because I ended up like DMing him on Instagram, and he got the notification but he didn't see me that I was at that party yet. And so I was like, LOL, like, and I repeated something that was like loudly said in the room, and he was so confused because he's like, wait, how did that person know that was going on here? AKA I was there. Anyway, so that was kind of funny to me. But overall, a prime reason to don't do that. But also, that's just insanely rude, for one, especially if you're the host or throwing the party or the group or whatever. Like, it just throws you off your game. I feel like it should definitely be just cleared ahead of time and just checked. I think people that choose to do that just get a brain in your head, because that's just rude. Okay, the next one is never show up empty-handed to someone's home for whatever it is. If it is a holiday, if it's Thanksgiving, then yeah, your butt better be bringing a dish. If it is a small hangout and there's going to be food, you should be texting them and saying, hey, what can I bring? Can I bring chips? Can I bring an appetizer? Whatever. If there's no food and that's up front and well known, then yeah, don't worry about it. If you're going to go to someone's house and then go to a restaurant or whatever, yeah, not a big deal. If it's a housewarming party, that could be different, obviously. I grew up in Utah, so I am not as familiar with the whole bring a thing of wine to a housewarming, because that's not a thing for a large majority of the population here, because we don't have a very big drinking culture here. I would say if you were to phrase it as a housewarming party, like make invitations that said that, I think people would probably bring you maybe like a basket full of cleaning supplies or something like that. But as for like the whole concept of wine that you see in a lot of TV shows and stuff, not very done around here, I'd say. Maybe it is, and I'm not around for it, but as far as I know, and from what I've seen, it's not. But overall, though, if we're looking at just holidays solely, yeah. The few encounters that I've had with situations that people are not doing this, it is so irritating. For example, my husband is a very good cook, and so whenever we are involved with Thanksgiving or any sort of food holidays, we are usually either prepping the main course, providing it, hosting it, whatever, or bringing usually 2 different dishes to wherever we're going. And we work hard on these dishes. They're not just random store-bought things that we're just slapping our name on pretty much and presenting. So the few circumstances, and I am specifically looking back on multiple family ones that were Thanksgiving, which everybody loves Thanksgiving and the drama that ensues with it. The biggest thing for me is the people that show up, sit on their butt, sit on the couch, sit on their laptop, whatever, and don't help. And even worse are those same people that eat the food and go back and do that. So I feel like there's a slight gray area. Obviously, I probably stated the obvious, but if you don't help prep the food or bring the food, your butt better be doing dishes and helping clean up and pulling your weight. I've been in these situations where these certain people showed up, sat on the couch, played video games, did not help at all, did not cook, did not bring anything, and then immediately I left the table and did not help clean up. And that was the last time we attended that Thanksgiving because of that. And which obviously you can say, oh wow, you guys are so thin-skinned, not thick-skinned, where something like that affected you. No, it's just straight up rude. And yeah, anyway, long story short, don't be that person. I definitely think that it's not that hard to, like, you can even, let's say, for story's sake, that they told you not to bring something. Okay, cool. You don't bring something because there's already going to be so much food. Cool. You get there, you eat. You say, oh my gosh, let me help you clean up. And you mean it. And you want to help scrub a dish or whatever. Or a pot. And they're like, no. Because guess what? I'm that person sometimes too when I host. One, because I'm so meticulous and OCD. And I've actually told people that. I'm just like, no. I'm going to do it all again anyway. Like, don't even worry about it. However, just putting in the effort, even if they don't want you to do it, means the world. If you just la-di-da-di-da, eat your food and move on, like, even if you say thank you or whatever, that's great, but, like, I don't know. Anyway, point being, people need to work harder and act like adults. That's my rant on that. So, the next one is the quotation, I made it home safe text is a must. So, I don't really agree. I feel like it's a very stereotypical thing to say, oh, text me when you made it home safe. I think it's very circumstantial for where you live and the culture. For example, for Utah and growing up, for going, if you're like boyfriend and girlfriend and genuinely concerned, like me and my husband when we were dating, we only did that a couple times and it was very like stereotypical. I was traveling because I would take a train after hanging out with him and then travel another like 15 minutes on a bus / walking home from the bus stop or whatever. So like for me, that makes sense because I was traveling in Provo and Provo can be sketchy sometimes. Anyway, that's a good example. If it's just general, we met for dinner or whatever and we're driving separately home or whatever, that's just weird. Maybe it's a thanks for dinner text. That's more normalized. But the I made it home safe is weird. Because it's just like, okay, do you not drive home safe every other instance? I don't know. I know it's probably coming from a place of love and caring or whatever. But for me, with almost like all of the relationships I ever were in, that was never really a priority. So it might be a Utah thing. I don't know. I feel like it's probably not a Utah thing. I think it's a very specific situation thing. Like if you're going to be walking around in the dark and fearing for your life slightly. But yeah. Okay, this next one's kind of funny. So in regards to people in general, never trust someone who says they don't like dessert. So funnily enough, I just started rewatching New Girl. And that is one of the things that Jess says to, I forgot the girl's name that Nick dates, but anyway, that because she said she was the one that was a lawyer, and she's like, no thanks, I don't like dessert, because like Jess tried to give her a cupcake or something like that, and so then Jess full crash out, there's like a crash out, because she's like, what do you mean you don't like dessert? What kind of person doesn't like dessert? Like just going off about it. I LOL to that. I think it's a hard situation because in 2025, like people could be on diets, like trying to stick to their thing without having to get into it. And I feel like it's a trickier way than just saying, yo, I'm on a diet. Like I understand if you're sensitive and not wanting to say that because you don't want to bring attention to that you're on a diet or whatever. But it's just funny to me that, I don't know, in the concept of the show, like, I don't like desserts. Like, that's weird. Like, that's kind of pick me energy a little bit of like, I'm so healthy, I'm healthier than you, I don't like desserts. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of an example for me of saying that I don't like something. I'm trying to think. Oh, I swear. I would say maybe spicy food, but that's just because I don't have a great tolerance to it. So that's not even like I don't like that. I don't like green olives, really. I was just thinking about weird, like, unique food that people don't like. I like black olives. They're great. I'll have green olives, but not for the enjoyment of my palate. I'm trying to think of something else that's so stereotypical that I don't like. I don't love cheesecake. I'll eat it if it's, like, dessert, because I do love desserts. But stereotypically, I do not totally love cheesecake. I'd rather have something else, but I'll have it like if everyone else is having it, like a slice. So That's an example. But if I wanted to be a pick-me about it, I'd be like, I don't like cheesecake. Yeah, it's just too rich for me. It's just like, it's just too much. That's just being so dramatic. Okay, this next one I'm so passionate about and is on the same wavelength, I guess, as cheesecake. But the example of more probably normalized for pizza or whatnot, don't take the last slice of something unless you offer it to everyone else first. So I like to go the complete, more chaotic route for this. For example, whether it's the last like roll in the bread basket at a restaurant or last chips for the last chips and sauce. Okay, the chip one is a little bit of a stretch, but anytime this happens, if I'm in like a group of 4, I'm immediately ripping the bread into fourths and saying, here you go, here's your bit. Because unless somebody is overly hungry or mature enough to say, hey, can I have this? Which is very rare. No one will, and they will all leave it alone. And I hate that. For one, it's a waste of food. And 2, if I'm actively hungry and it's an appetizer, I'm just like, no, give me that one little bit. I am so hungry. I'm going to eat that. Thank you. And I will eat my portion. And if it's 1/4 of a roll, I will take it. So for me, it's definitely an unspoken rule. I respect it in a formal setting, but if I'm with people I am friendly with or it's casual, you bet your butt I will be doing that. So the next one is if you see someone you know in public, you both pretend you didn't. That one's tricky. And once again, as a Utah thing. So if I am friends with this person and have hung out with them at least once a year or been around them, I will most definitely say something and acknowledge it. If it's someone from my past that I knew, like, a lot of the time we'll call them hallway people from high school. Like, we went to high school together, but we weren't friends or we didn't talk or anything. But we knew each other because we saw each other in the hallway. Definitely will not be talking to that person. But yeah, I would say it just depends on, of course, on the relativeness of how friendly or how well I know this person. Or better yet, if I have friends that are friends with this person, that's kind of a little cheat segue that I can be like, yo, we have something in common, like, and I'll talk to them because, as I've stated before, I talk to a lot of strangers in public, so it's very funny that I have a very specific opinion for this because I would rather talk to a stranger than somebody that I might very distantly know because I feel like it will be weirder. I don't know. Okay, so the letter replying with the letter K, like okay, is, I wouldn't say banned between my husband and I. We've never talked about it, but we have never, I don't know, I'm trying to even think back when we were dating, like early dating. I'm trying to think if we ever were even mad at each other where we used that the letter K. I would say yes with my past relationships, like little boyfriend, girlfriend ones, that I probably most definitely did if I was upset, because that's just the general text lingo that you're upset, right? And you said K. The problem is my husband and I are better than everyone else. Just kidding. That was a joke. No, we were just at a point of our lives of maturity when we were dating that was so stupid. And if either of us were to use that, then we would just be like, you good? Like, if we were actually upset, we used our words and we talked about it and whatever. I don't know. It's just so immature, like, even thinking about it in regards to our relationship. But in the past, yes, when I was more immature, I definitely did use it because I was, like, internally pouting or something. I don't know. Or was just really mad at that guy or person. Anyway, but yes, overall, replying K without context equals just fighting words / I'm so mad at you. And you should know that. So I think it's just kind of immature. Yeah, sure, if in your teeny bopper relationships, go for it. But I would just say use your big words. Okay, this next one's so specific. I haven't honestly had a ton of experience with it. I don't know. Honestly, my brain fails me a lot. But a good example for what I'm about to say. So the concept of if you borrow something, return it in better condition. The only kind of prime example I can think of this is if you were to borrow someone's car, fill it up with gas, right? That's pretty a general standard. However, I've only borrowed one person's car, and then the irony is that same person ended up needing to go to the ER. I think it was when I was borrowing it. So, like, they were having abdominal stomach pain, and so I drove, because this was during college, like, it was my roommate, and so she had this stomach pain, and I drove her to the ER in her car, because I did not have a car at the time. And so then she was at the ER, I drove her home, and then she told me, because I was late for school and I needed to go to a class, she's like, hey, take my car. Please do that. And so I will say that I didn't fill up her car with gas. To be honest, it was a quick journey. It wasn't like I had her car for days and days and days, like, or whatever. But if I did, or it was a different circumstance or whatever, then yeah. But anyway, I felt like I did, at the time, did my civil duty with driving her to the ER and taking that out of my day and helping her. Keep in mind, we weren't very close, to be honest, and we didn't end up being very close either. But overall, any other circumstance, I would say yes, fill up the car with gas. But anything else, like, for example, if you're borrowing a book, a textbook, or whatever, yeah, you treat that thing like it's a baby. Like, you don't want to be screwing something up, or better yet, replace it. If you need to buy it in the end, then do that. But yeah, I don't know. A good example, so recently I let a mom friend of mine, because she recently had a baby, I had a bunch of preemie clothing, because her baby ended up being really small. That was how my baby was. But anyway, so she needed some clothing, and so I dropped them off, and she brought it back in the exact same bag, like, pristine, same condition. And I'm just like, see, now that is how you do it, my friend. So that's an example. I definitely think I think you're silly if you do anything otherwise than that. So this next one, I will say I have tried to be better at over the years. It's definitely hard with ADHD, but the concept of don't one-up someone's story immediately, let them have their own moment. And for me, it would never be to one-up them, but because I wanted to add my own take on what I've experienced, and that's an ADHD thing for sure. And so over the years, I have learned, and I still do it every now and then, not intentionally, but it's just because that's my way of engaging, that I understand and that I get it. But the problem is it can come off rude that to this person, they think that I want to talk about myself / I don't care, and I think that my experience is more valid, when in reality it's just a complete ADHD thing where it's like I'm trying to relate to you and have you understand that, and that's me trying to connect with you, and it just comes off wrong sometimes. So my fix for that is just remembering that, and I guess the other half of it for ADHD is that we're worried that we're gonna forget about what we wanted to say in the moment, because our brain sucks and doesn't hold anything. And so that's the other kind of half of it. But yeah, so just over the years, I just try to bite my tongue politely and listen, and then just really try to remember what I was going to say, and then add that to the end, as well as I'll say while I'm trying to say it, and just say, hey, I totally hear you. Like, maybe this is similar to your experience, maybe not at all. Like, this is just what I had experienced, blah, 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 blah. But your experience is totally valid, like, blah, 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 blah. So, like, I'll just try to kind of Oreo it with my 2 cookie bits and say, like, I understand what you're saying, and just being very respectful with it, or else it comes off pretty rude. So I absolutely love this next one. So the concept of don't announce you're leaving a party, just slip out if it's casual. So I feel like for the, I guess, manners for where I grew up and the people around me, it was kind of the opposite. You kind of you tell everyone intentionally that you're leaving, and you tell them thank you, and it was so much fun, thank you for inviting me to your house, or whatever. which I like to be the backwards way about it. So it's so opposite. But basically, whenever I'm hosting, I hate the introduction of opening the door and saying, "Hi, welcome to my home." Blah 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 blah. Like, I rather them just walk in, but because better yet, I will usually get a notification with our doorbell camera and that they're there. And so I'll just like stick my head open and they'll be like, "Hey, come on in," and I'll leave the door open. Like, because I'm either prepping food or I don't know, I just hate the formality of it. But without fail, I will yell at them and tell them to take off their shoes because we are a no-shoe house. So, and I mean that. I have yelled at people many times that start walking in with their shoes on. I'm like, shoes off. Because I'm the one that cleans the floors. So that, and we have a toddler. But anyway, so that's why I was kind of laughing because I'm backwards about it. Yes, it's referring to when people are leaving, and I don't mind if it's like a small, close-knit gathering. That's fine. If it's a big party, I think it's kind of weird. And so obviously if you have friends and you genuinely want to say goodbye to them, that's great, but I don't think it should be a mandated thing. I think that the times that it is rude to slip out is if someone like specifically invited you and it wasn't just a, hey, open invite kind of thing, then I think you should definitely thank your host. So I honestly view this one as very backwards, but yeah. Next one is don't start a deep combo in the group chat meant for memes. I never actually been in this situation. I never had a close friend group chat. The group chats I've been in are very strictly for either it was work related, dance group related, whatever. And so that, and I feel like my humor is so specific that I wouldn't do well in a group chat setting in general because I either think these jokes are so stupid. I don't know. I have yet to meet, well, besides my husband, I have yet to meet a female that is similar in brainwaves as myself. Because I'm not saying that my humor is elite or anything. That it's just either it's way too stupid or way too niche that a lot of the girls around where I live they don't think the same way. So I don't know. That's my own personal struggle. But if I were to be in a group chat / the few ones that I have been throughout my life, there hasn't really been any necessary deep combo things. Well, there has been a couple actually. I remember in my dance group chats, some people would try to be like uber mature and be like, "Guys, I think we need to talk about what happened tonight, blah 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 blah." But the problem is that was when we were all teenagers, and so whenever they would do that, it would really just come off as, "I'm acting more mature than you guys, and I think you guys should know that." And I think that's so immature in my opinion, but whatever, it just comes off tacky. But anyway, if I were in a silly group chat, whatever, with memes, then yes, definitely maybe talk to that person individually. So with this one, I feel like the topic has changed so much over the last 5-10 years. So the concept of never ask a couple when they are having kids. Yeah, that's a danger topic for 2025. So for one, you don't know if they're actually having issues with having children in general. You don't know if that's on their radar. You don't know if they physically can't, whatever. And so yeah, definitely not a question for 2025. But let's say 15, 20 years ago, it was a lot more dilly-dally, whatever, of a conversation topic. So yeah, definitely don't do it. I feel like that this isn't that deep, but yeah, I would say unless you're very close friends with the couple, then sure. But I mean, even in my case, I would not do that. So this next one makes me laugh because I have a very specific response to it. So the concept, don't post unflattering group photos without checking first. So no, for all of the experiences that I've seen, whether it was through high school or birthday shout outs, whatever, especially for Utah, but I'm sure throughout the world as well, people usually tend to post what makes them look the best, and it makes me laugh. My favorite Utah girl thing that always happens is for birthday shout-outs between friends, and the married one, without fail, will always post a picture of them on their wedding day of the friend saying, happy birthday, I love you so much, blah, 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 you mean the world to me. But it's like, they're the main attraction in this photo, so it kills me every time, because I'm just like, And like, I get it if that truly is the only picture you have of you and your friend, which sometimes happens, like some of the girlfriend relationships that I have, like, for sure. But it makes me laugh because year after year they will do it, and I'm just like, y'all are real good friends, I can tell, because that's all you got. So it just makes me laugh. But overall, yeah, I would say the majority of people do post pictures that they do look the best in. So the concept in this being a rule to not post a picture if it has unflattering group photos, people don't care. They really do it for themselves. Okay, this next one's funny. So the concept of don't blast music on public transport, or I just say in a public setting without headphones. People have gotten really good at not doing this, but there's obviously the special few. I think there's the specific, I feel like it's always a guy that has like a weird JBL speaker or something like that, and they're just blasting whatever they want, like on the street or whatever. And it's like, you know what, general street, don't care. But like in a bus or something like that, nah, fam. Like, you don't get to have the music video of your dreams and impact everyone's peace. Like, that's just so rude. But I'd say overall, a lot of people were good with the headphones. 10 out of 10. The thing that always crosses my mind whenever I'm in a gym, like working out, I always laugh because the few times that either my headphones die or I forget them or something like that, I get to listen to the gym music, and I always, without fail, every single time, I'm just like, I'm the only one listening to this. Just because everyone else has headphones in and they're all listening to their own music. So I truly wish I know with certain gyms that there's a way that you can create the playlist or add to the songs that you want to play, but to my knowledge, the gym that I go to does not have that. So if it did, you know, we'd be listening to K-pop Demon Hunters, baby. No, I saw on TikTok there was a girl posting that her Walmart was playing it, and oh my gosh, if I was there for that, I would love it, and I would start dancing, and I'd probably be dancing and spy someone else dancing, and we would have a little dance party together, because that'd be legit. But yeah, overall, I'd say people are pretty good with the whole don't blast music in public. But yeah. Okay, this next one is if you bump into someone, apologize even if it was mutual. Okay, that's standard, but I want to dig a little deeper into the whole concept of if y'all both weren't trying to avoid one another. There's a whole like concept on the streets of New York or Chicago, whatever, where guys will like shoulder check women because they expect women to move out of the way, but then there's like these girls on TikTok that specifically don't, and then these guys are like pissed because they got hit because they expected the girl to move out of the way because they're like the weak, fragile creature that should respect the guy. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's dumb. I think both people should move. Grow up. Don't be a jerk. So yeah. Okay, the next one is always hold the door if someone's within a few steps. I agree. I don't think there's any part of the world that shouldn't be a thing. I'd say if you were more than 5 pirate paces away, maybe. I don't know. The day-to-day example of this for me is the gym. So one of the gyms, because I go to a couple gyms. Don't ask why, but I do. Unless you know. But I would say for the majority of the time, there's like multiple entrances to the gym. And so like most people specifically don't come across this because of the human nature of, no, I will go to my own door entrance and open my own door. Because like I feel like the large majority of the population would prefer to do that rather than interact with another person and make them think that you are on their heels and that they have to now make that decision to hold the door for you. It's pretty simple, but it usually happens. And so 9 out of 10 times, though, there are some very sweet individuals, usually they're guys, that will hold my door. And depending on my mood of the day, either I will be irritated by it, but I won't, like, make it known. I'll just internally be like, move on, like, call it pretty privilege, whatever. I don't know, sometimes you just don't want the attention. Like, 9 out of 10 times I'll be sweaty and just want to go home, you know? And so I'm just like, okay, like, especially if it's out of their way, then it's just, like, weird to me. Obviously, I'm reading into it, I know, too much, and I should just be grateful. But if I'm in a bad mood that day, I'm in a bad mood that day. That has nothing to do with them, you know? So, anyway, that's just me yapping about it, though. Obviously, a lot of the time, if I'm in a fine, normal, great, dandy mood, then I'll always smile and say thank you. Even if I'm in a bad mood, I'll just be like, oh, thank you, like, da-da-da. But, yeah, it just makes me laugh sometimes. Okay, this next one makes me laugh. So, when driving, the thank you wave, when someone lets you merge into a lane or whatever, is mandatory. I would say yes. I think it's really rude. Well, if you make a good driving effort to move quickly once you get an indication to merge or whatever, I don't think it's necessary. If it was like last minute, oh my gosh, I almost died, probably a good thing to be like, yo, thanks for helping me not die. Probably worth the wave. But yeah, that one I'm very much on the line with, because it's like, if you're a good person, you didn't cut them off or whatever, then you're fine either way. If you did cut them off and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like, hopefully they take that correctly and they read it correctly. If not, they'll be like, why are you waving your hand at me? I don't know. But yeah, overall, Utah is a huge, like, road rage problem, so in general, and bad drivers. So regardless, good luck if you're driving in Utah. Next one is don't take phone calls on speaker in quiet public places. 1, yeah, super rude. Don't be stupid. 2, now your public phone call is the world's knowledge, which I think is just weird and uncomfortable. But every now and then I'll come across someone doing it. Like, if it's in a Walmart and it's, like, loud or whatever, I'm just, 9 out of 10 times I'll just think, oh, they're really busy. Like, they're trying to get something figured out, scheduled for whatever chaotic life they're living. And that's fine. Like, I'll move on. Like, it's not physically hurting me. I think it's just kind of weird, but whatever. If it's obviously a quiet space, then yeah, don't do that. That's just weird. And it's quite irritating, but to each their own, I guess. All right, this one's really spicy. So, next one is for don't date a friend's ex unless there's express permission. So it's funny, the different stages of life where this comes into play, because when you're a teenager, the emotions are so heightened and it's very significant. If you're in college and you're in a similar group, that could be either normal or that could be, once again, very significant emotions. Obviously, we've seen enough sitcoms of How I Met Your Mother and Friends where they interchangeably date one another and make it seem like that's normal. I feel like that's not very normal. But I have met groups where it is. And to each their own, you know? Okay. But as I'd say, air quote, grown adult, college graduate, has to take life pretty seriously, it can happen. I think it's a little rare, but it's not obviously not impossible, and it happens enough where we're talking about it. But yeah, overall, I would say maybe talk to the person about it. If you drop a bomb on them about it, then it could be a problem and will ruin your friendship. Like, that happened to me in high school. It was really sad. I had a girlfriend and I dated a guy, and then she decided to get with the guy after, and they hid it from me, and that, like, ruined our friendship, and that's really sad, but it happened. So be smart. Hormones are crazy. 9 out of 10 times you won't end up with that person forever anyway, so have fun, be smart. Okay, so, and on to that topic, if you have a friend that's going through a breakup, don't talk about your perfect relationship. Unless, of course, it's through an attempt to help them heal. And I know that's a fine line we're walking, but just obviously if they want to talk crap about the person, the guy, whatever, then you can agree and just be like, you know what? Yeah, that really bothered me because I don't want that for you for a future husband for you, or I don't know. Just being really smart with it. Obviously, it's the same concept of like, if you have a friend that lost a job, you don't want to talk about your job, or being like, oh yeah, that really sucks, and like coming off of like, but I have a job. So just being smart with it. That's pretty standard. That's a good rule. Okay, this next one I kind of disagree with. So it's, don't tell your friends' secrets to your partner unless they've okayed it. I feel like it's kind of, I mean, there wasn't even a TikTok trend about this, but because the trend was just basically saying like, oh yeah, like zip it, I'll be hush hush about it. But then the joke is that the husband grabs the zipper and unzips the mouth, because any significant other conversation, especially for stay-at-home moms, and the fact that we don't talk to anyone all day, we're gonna pry any slight gossip information out of our husbands for any sign of or any chance of normalcy and communication and life living experience with adults that can talk back to us, because our toddlers just go blah 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 and babble and don't speak English. So it's great. And so that's a good example. I would say outside of marriage and kids and whatever, I would still say, once again, with a significant other, it's kind of a given. I've said with a lot of my close friends that either are dating or married, it's a standard there too. A lot of the times I'll have conversations and say, oh, but I'm sure your significant other told you that, right? And the funniest thing to me is that the way that they'll respond, be like, oh yeah, I think they mentioned that. And I'm like, you fully got the debrief on this already. But I respect the modesty of saying, oh yeah, I think they mentioned that slightly. So I think that's just a given. I think if for some reason, if you were to tell a friend something and you were genuinely concerned about the privacy on it, then say that. Like, I think that's the best way to go about it, is the two options of, one, naturally assume the information's free game for your significant other, but no one else other besides that. Or you say, hey, please keep this between us. Like, don't even tell such and such your significant other, because I'm not ready for that, or whatever. So, yeah. So this next one is be on time, or at least give a heads up if you will be late. So, I swear the population is cut in half for this one. There's people that are obviously on time, there's people that are late, but then there's the people that are late that lie about it. So they either will, one, send a fake message and say, oh yeah, I'm almost there, but they haven't even left the house yet. Or you agree on a time and they don't say anything until they're 30 minutes late, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll be there in 10. Like, that's so offensive, and I hate those people. So don't be that person. But yeah, I don't know, the most perfect and ideal person in my book is the person that just communicates. Like, try to be there on time. If for some reason something happens, traffic, whatever, then immediately text as soon as you can, or call and just say, hey, this is what's happening. Just communication is the best policy. On that same note, don't cancel last minute until you're actually sick or there's an emergency. Obviously, you don't want to come across as the friend that is super flaky, so definitely would suggest not being that person. Hold those emergencies for actual emergencies. Okay, so this next one makes me laugh. So when splitting food, like in half or sharing, be fair. No cherry picking the best bites. So I feel like this is a great and grand example for why siblings are important. Obviously, if for some reason you're an only child for a specific reason, that's fine, I don't care. But in general, for sibling situations, this is just something I always remembered as from my childhood, is that if we had to share something, one person cuts, the other person chooses, and that you would bet your butt that cut would be as equal as possible, because that cutter did not want to be taken advantage of. So or lose out on a good piece or whatever. So that's something that always makes me laugh. But obviously, if you're not siblings and in that expertise area, I would say as adults or whatever, I'd say most people generally will still abide by that concept. But I would say I don't know. I've never been in a situation where a person clearly picks the best piece and leaves me out hang to dry kind of thing. So I don't know, I'd say most people usually follow through with that. So I'm not overly concerned about that one, but I would say it's definitely a good rule and standard of most people. All right, so I'm going to end on one that I have worked many jobs where this is included, but the last one, return your shopping cart, always. The people that don't, come on. It's hilarious to me because I always see moms, like mothers, with their children always returning them. And it's like we are the sole population for have either a screaming child or usually just the most inconvenientness. And we always work our butts off to return the carts. So I would say, just yes, always return your cart. You're a horrible person if you don't. I think that's so lazy. It's an extra, 30 seconds out of your day. I get it. If it's hot, if it's cold, it's raining, whatever. I just think it's immature. So that, my friends, is the bottom line when it comes to the unwritten rules of society. There's obviously many, many more, but some good baseline ones. I would suggest reflecting and trying to be a good person. Not that you necessarily have to abide by these exactly, and you can happily be your own particular person, but overall to be a good person. That is all for today. If you had a good time, feel free to give a little podcast 5 stars. Feel free to check out the Instagram. Hit me with a follow. I am all over TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube now. So we're having fun making shorts, and feel free to check those out too if you'd like. But until next time, love you lots. Have a great rest of your night. And bye.